In the name of Anna, the All-Merciful, the Ever-Living, the bringer of plurabilities, hallowed be her eve. Her sing-time song, her will be run, unhemmed as it is uneven. Her untitled manifesta, memorializing the Most Highest, has gone by in many names at disjointed times. Thus we hear of the Augusta Angustissimus for old Sebastius Salvation, Rockabill Booby in the Wave Trough, here's to the relics of all decencies, Anastasias rise to notice, Nickel down Duddy Gun and Irish Sir Cannon, my golden one and my silver wedding, Armory Tristram and Issy Cicero, saith a Sawyer till a Stram, ick dick dope dope et you, mihi, by birthplate for a bite. Which of your yesterdays mean ye tomorrow? Ho begun the Hebrewer, hit Waterman the brained, arcs in his ceiling, flea chinks on the floor. Rebus de Herbenisus, the crazy letters, groans of a Britaness. Peter Peelpla picked a plot to pitch his popalon. An apology for a big, some such no noun as husband or husband or hosebound is probably understood, for we have also the plethoric. My hounds bombed hands bards the journey to Porthagil gone, and he never has the hour. Ought we to visit him for Arc Caesar, Cleopatra's needlework, fictoring Alborum on the Sahara, with the combing of the camels on the parlemades of Egypt, cock in the pot for father, placiat vestre, a new cure for an old clap, where portentos they'd grow goner, how I wish I was a geese. Gentle Nettie, thrust him not, when the myrtles of Venice played to block us line, to plunge me high he waves Chilton on friends, Ormond's Q visits Amen Mart. And though I grannier be, he would fain me cuddle, 20 of chambers, weighty 10 beds and a 1-seat room. I led the life, through the boxer cocks arising, in the house with the golden stairs. The following fork, he is my Jerusalem and I'm his Po. The best in the West, by the stream of Zemzem under Zigzag Hill. The man that made his mother in the Marlbury train. Try our tale on a taube, the log of Annie to the base Saul. Nopper tipped a neppywink to his not a light dancy girls. 'Tis all the king or Albans. In timea menes lisp of an exterior monoloth. Drink to him, my jockey, and dult bemin the winnering sheet. I ask you to believe I was his mistress. He can explain from Victoria Nuancy to Albert Noanzy. There's a daisy so Guinea or Hansel too. What Barbara's done to a barrel organ before the rank tank and bombtail. Husky and mortal. What Jumbo made to Jallis and what Anisette to him. Ophelia's culprits. Here Hupty Hublin, my old Danish. I am old and north rogues among wished I slips, and he calls me his duel of Aisha, supports a ventriloquist, marries a corpse, laps for fins, this Finnegans Wake, how the buckling shut at Rush in January, look to the lady from the rise of the Dutch, Pew Public to the fall of the Postil. Of the two ways of opening the mouth, I have not stopped water where it should flow, and I know the 29 names of Atra Ent. The daughter of Tory Island traits Galasia like his milch cow, from Abbygate to Crow Valley, through a lift in the Lude, smocks for their graces, and me aunt for them clodsoppers. How to pull a good horoscope, even when old sire is dead to the world. In the gleam of Wahalo, Farthy succeeded to my aspirations. These steps forward, 2 stops back. My skin appeals to 3 senses, and my curly lips demand column kisses. Gage Street on a cranny's savings. Them lads made a tryon of battle watches, and they toties a do-it of dears. In my lord's bed by one whore went through it. Mum, it is all over. Cowpaw ride by 12-acre terrace in the unique estates of Amazakam. He gave me 1,000, so I serve him with thee. Of all the wide torsos in all the wild glen, Odon, White Dunno. He's Hugh to me cry, I'm the stitch in his backside, you'd be naught without bomb. To keep the huskies off the hustings, and picture pets from lifting shops. Norska Torska, find the puddle. He pursed me here with the ardour of a tonopirks. A boob was weeping, this mower was weeping. O Laughlin, up from the pit of my stomach, I wish you were the white of the morning, Inglo-Andine, Meadowleys from Tominey Moor. The great Polynesial entertainer exhibits Ballantyne, branches with the link of natures. The mimic of Megneg and the Mackies. Entered as the Lasters Pictorial and my Puridical at Stitchener's Hall. Siegfried Follies and or Gentle Home's Faux Pas. See the first book of Giles's Pessim, the suspended sentence, a pretty brick story for child-size heroes. As low I was asleep, I knew I'd got it in me, so it settles that. Thunderbolt, Captain Smith, and La Belle Sauvage, Pocahontas. Way for Wetwick Wellikins, Dutchka Marianne. The last of the Fingalians. It was me egged him on to the stalking's change, and lent my dutiful face to his customs? Chills on the China Miction, picked me up Peters. Lumpty-tumpty had a big fall, pimp, 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 pimp. Measly ventures of 2 lice and the fall of fruit. The folks' family interior. If my spread eagles run so tight, I'd loosen my cursets on that bunch of Maggie traps. Alalosha, Popplefets, and Hauk Cotchwe Eye. Seen apples and thin-dyed. I beg you to believe from love and mother. Finds fault was no felon. Exact delvin rain to life. The flash that flies from Vuggy's eyes has set me hair on fire. His is the house that Malt made. Divine views from back to the front. Arbiter Sar stood icky doiter till Brahm talked him common sex, and nibble at Eve will that bowel relieve. I'll 4 guineas, sounds and compliments libidous, 7 wives awake a week, Ariane and Berber Blut, Amy licks porter while Huffy chops eads, a brace of umbrellas or a triple of canes, but butterburst, from the Manor-Lord Hove to the Mrs. O'Molleys, and from the dames to their sames, many festoons from the colleagues, on the green and outstanding back, and an excellent half-centre, if called on. As tree is quick and stone is white, so 'tis my washing done by night. First and last only true account, about the honorary Monsieur Earwicker. LSD and the Snake's Nuggets. By a woman of the world who only can tell naked truths about a dear man and all his conspirators, how they all tried to fall him, putting it all around. Luca Lizard about Private's Earwicker and a pair of sloppy sluts, plainly showing all the unmentionability falsely, accusing about the raincoats. The protiform graph itself is a polyhedron of scripture. There was a time when naive alphabeters would have written it down, the tracing of a purely deliquescent recidivist, possibly ambidextrous, snub-nosed, probably, and presenting a strangely profound rainbow in his or her occiput. To the hardily curiosing entomorphalist, then it has shown a very sex mosaic of nymphosis, in which the eternal chimera hunter, Aureolopus, now fond of sugars, then life of salts, the sensory crowd in his belly coupled with an eye for the goods, truth bewilderblissed by their night effluvia with guns like drums and fondlers like forceps, persequistalates his Vanessas from floor to floor. Somehow this sounds like the purest Kidoliun, wherein our maiden Nassurushan of law is rich. Also hell from us him in a kitchen not darkness, by hazard and worn rolls arrayed. We must grope on till Zerogaur, like poor owl gyres. As we are would, we salve aught of moments for our eye saw today. Amours and no not but, closer inspection of the bordereau would reveal a multiplicity of personalities inflicted on the document, and some prevision of virtual crime or crimes might be made by anyone unwary enough before any suitable occasion, for it or them had so far managed to happen along, in fact, under the closed eyes of the inspectors, the traits featuring the chiaroscuro coalesce, their contrarieties eliminated. In one stable, somebody similarly, as by the providential warring of heartshaker with housebreaker, and of damn drinker against free thinker, how social something bowls along bumpily, experiencing a jolting series of prearranged disappointments down the long lane of its, as semper, as oxhouse humper, generations, more generations, and still more generations. Say, Baron Lusador, who in hallhagal wrote the durn thing anyhow, erect, beseated, mountebank against a party wall, below freezegrade, by the use of quill or style, with turbid or pellucid mind, accompanied or the reverse by mastication, interrupted by visit of seer to scribe, or of scribe to sight, atwixt two showers, or a tossed of a trike rained upon, or blown around by a right-down regular racer from the soil, or by a two-paned whittle wit laden with the loot of learning. Now patience, and remember patience, is the great thing, and above all things else we must avoid anything like being or becoming out of patience. A good plan used by the worried business folk, who may not have had any momentums to master Kung's doctrine of the Miang or the propriety codices of calm primustimus, is just to think of all the sinking fund of patience possessed in their conjoint names by both brothers Bruce, with whom are incorporated their Scotch Spider and Elberfeld's calculating horses. If after years upon years of delving in ditches, dark one tub thumper more than others, Kinnahoon or Canahan, Giardana or mere misermonger, has got up for the darnel some purposes of reassuring us with all the barber of the Carriagee house that our great ascendant was properly speaking 3 syllables less than his own surname. Yes, less than the ear of Fionn Earwicker aforetime was the trademark of a broadcaster with wicker local jargon for an Aisha's patient. Here calls everywhere. Then as to this radio-oscillating epistle, to which cotton silk or samite, cohort gold or brick dust, we must ceaselessly return whereabouts exactly at present in Siam, Hell or Tophet, under that glorious owl which plays Tooraloop with us in this Aladdin's cove of our Kidgasty, in that bright so and such to Slimpus the Dinkle oil. Naysayers we know to conclude purely negatively from the positive absence of political odia and monetary requests that its page cannot ever have been pen product of a man or woman of that period or those parts is only one more unlooked-for conclusion leaped at, being tantamount to interfering or inferring from the non-presence of inverted commas, sometimes called quotation marks, on any page that its author was always constitutionally incapable of misappropriating the spoken words of others. Luckily there is another cant to the query. Has any fellow of the dime-a-dozen type, it might with some profit some dull evening quietly be hinted, has any usual thought of ornery josser, flat-chested, 40-ish, fatally flatulent, and given to ratiocination by syncopation in the elucidation of complications, of his great Feng Yang Dinah's descendants, only another the son of. In fact, ever looked sufficiently longly at a quite everyday-looking stamped addressed envelope? Admittedly, it is an outer husk. Its face, in all its featureful perfection of imperfection, is its fortune. It exhibits only the civil or military clothing of whatever passion-pallid nudity or plague-purple nakedness may happen to tuck itself under its flap. Yet to concentrate solely on the literal sense or even the psychological content of any document, to the sore neglecting of the enveloping facts themselves, circumstantiating, it is just as hurtful to sound sense, and let it be added to the truest taste, as were some fellow in the act of perhaps getting an intro from another fellow, turning out to be a friend in need of his, say, to a lady of the latter's acquaintance, engaged in performing the elaborative ancestral ceremony of upstairs, straight away to run off, and vision her plump and plain and unnatural altogether, preferring to close his blink-eyed eyes to the ethical fact that she was, after all, wearing for the space of the time being some definite articles of evolutionary clothing, inharmonious creations, a captious critic might describe them as, or not strictly necessary, or a trifle irritating here and there, but for all that suddenly full of local colour and personal perfume, and suggestive too of so very much more, and capable of being stretched, filled out, if need or wish were, of having their surprisingly like coincidental parts separated, don't they now, for better survey by the deft hand of an expert, don't you know? Who in his heart doubts either that the facts of feminine clothing are there all the time, or that feminine fiction, stranger than the facts, is there also at the same time, only a little to the rear, one that may be separated from the other, or that both may then be contemplated simultaneously, or that each may be taken up and considered in turn, apart from the other. Here let a few artifacts fend in their own favour. The river felt she wanted salt. That was where Brienne came in. The country asked for bear's paw for Dindon, and bound and abounded it, got surly. We who live under heaven, we of the Clovery kingdom, we Middleton's people have often watched the sky overreaching the land. We suddenly have, our isle is Singer, the place that stern chuckler, mayhap not once said to repetition, in that Lutheran conservatory way of his, that is the chapel, as it the looking was the one place, ult out dult, in this mad vale of tears, whose verdures yellowed their ever fight on Parks's car, while its tamelized tay for the dream of Drainophilias, where the possible was the improbable, and the improbable the inevitable. If the proverbial bishop of our holy and undivided, with his me ken or no me ken zot, is the Christian have mashed had his toenails on their head, we are in for a sex potentiality of improbable possibilities, though possibly nobody, after having grubbed up a lock of qualled corn above his subject, probably, in Harry's totalities, or the Viril will go out of his way to applaud him on the on-bore-highest back of his remark, for utterly impossible as are all these events, they are probably as like those which may have taken place as any others which never took person at all, are ever likely to be. Ahan.